Is that a problem of the law or the individual who occupies that position?
It's a problem of the individuals because we have ample laws to go after people who flout various provisions of the law. But then if you put somebody there who doesn't have the will, who doesn't have the vision, who is scared of his own shadow, then nothing is going to happen.
How about the part where they say the AGF can enter nully in any matter, thereby throwing spanners in the works? Yeah,
you see, then if for example, I'm in charge of the EFCC, then I'm going to charge everybody who I feel that has broken the law, and then let the AG come up all the time and file his nully, then people will not say, I didn't do my work.
So it's about the institutions working, irrespective of whether you're the AGF or you're the head of the EFCC or the prosecution.
Yes.
So what future do you see? Because it would seem as if every time we go, there's this staccato movement. You take off the head, there's some form of drive, and there's a bit of, slowing down. And now we're getting to see something quite differently. As you observed, the same head during one administration seemed to be asleep and later on woken up. In the light of so many other allegations, a couple of times we've seen so many talks about corruption allegation against even the agency or rather the commission. What do you expect to get now that we have a new head? Because now it goes down to what Timberland has. How can we strengthen the commission to the extent that irrespective of who comes in, it must definitely deliver?
Well, that would be an Herculean task, because in Nigeria we do not have that culture of people appointed or put in office being independent of their appointer. We don't have that culture, unfortunately. For these organizations to function, we must get to a stage whereby if you put me there, I am ready to do my work, even if I'm going to lose it. So if I'm prosecuting people, I'm prosecuting the president's friend, I'm ready to go ahead to prosecute them, even though I know that the president might wake up and say, look, if you don't stop, I'm going to sack you. So, but we're not there yet. But we're works in progress. The unfortunate thing is that in some years, we make progress. Then, like you said, we also backslide, and all the progress that has been made is lost. Ribadu, when he came on board, he made progress, but the circumstances of his removal and then the record of the EFCC after that, doesn't inspire any hope in anybody.
Going through the report yesterday, his tenure is just almost over, just a couple of weeks, and you're getting to see this. Do you think this is unconnected to some of the allegations making the rounds on concerning this particular commission?
Well, I don't want to speculate as to why the president sacked him, but I mean, look, if a new president comes in or a new governor, they definitely want to put their own men in charge of institutions to drive, primarily to drive their change agenda and whatever they've promised the public. This administration has said we're going to be tough on corruption. So if they remove the man, it might be that, as people allege, maybe because of all these allegations, or primarily because they say, look, this is one of the things we promised, and we need to put somebody there that we know can achieve this objective for us.
But what's your impression about what the impression that some people have about the judiciary having this question mark in terms of either the tribunal verdict or agencies of government obeying court judgments and the likes of it?
The perception, unfortunately, is that the judiciary is much maligned. There's so many tales flying around, so many unsubstantiated allegations. Because, people say this and that about the judiciary, but most of it are not substantiated. A lot of these judges, to be fair to them, they put in a great deal of work. Anybody who who has participated in election petitions know how difficult and unrewarding a task it is, because in 180 days, they have to go through, I mean, unbelievable mountain of evidence, testimony, addresses by counsel, different applications, and they have to do this within 180 days. A lot of them do, you know, a great deal of work, but like they say, one bad apple gives the entire bunch a bad name. But to be fair to them, if you look at all there are so many tribunals that have been set up in respect of the last elections, and probably we've had controversy about maybe 2 or 3 of them. But all the other ones that were done brilliantly, perfectly, there is no applause for them. But it's the negative one that, you know, attracts the headlines, and therefore people, the perception arises that.
You know, just wondering quickly here, do they get any special incentive when it comes to times like this? If you're going to look at voluminous materials and evidence before you in a space of 180 days, what do they get something extra?
There's no incentive other than it's in service of the nation, and that is the oath that they took to dispense justice. So if they're given special assignments to go to election petition tribunals, I mean, it's part of their duties.
But what happens, because they've always been putting in this amount of work, maybe a little more these days, without this hue and cry. And all of a sudden, you're having this kind of cry making the round. Isn't it something that, I don't know which body could say, okay, wait a minute, let's take a look at this. Does somebody have to come up with an allegation before whichever authority looks at it?
The thing is that, look, if you look at the history of our electoral system, we've had various electoral acts. Yeah. So as mistakes arise, the electoral act is amended, or as loopholes are seen, the electoral act is amended. The current electoral act has several amendments. It is to improve the process. That section 140 subsection 2 came about as a result also of saying that rather than courts determining the winner of elections, let it be the electorate. So that's just the principle or the rationale behind section 142. We don't want a situation whereby it is the court all the time that determines who wins the election. Let's give it back to the people to decide.
But you also hear the president yesterday, sorry, Chamberlain, talking about punishment for electoral offenders. He believes that whoever it is, you know, that makes an election go awry, should also get some punishment. Do you subscribe to that?
I fully subscribe to that. In fact, that is an area that we have seen very little progress or little action, because I am not aware of anybody, whether prominent or party thug or what do you call them, who has been convicted of any electoral malpractice. And it is not as though there are none. There are millions, or not, well, don't let me say millions. There are loads of people who have committed electoral offenses, but nobody is being prosecuted.
All right, that's what I had to anchor. Mr. Moyosore Onigbanjo is a senior advocate of Nigeria. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, we'll be back in a moment. We have another perspective on the same matter, so hang on.